Today I learned that Anthony Bourdain, one of the most influential chefs of our time, called the movie Ratatouille simply the best food movie ever made. He noted details such as burns on chefs' hands. This corresponds to the reality of a restaurant kitchen. According to him, the creators have an excellent understanding of cinema and they did everything right. He was thanked in the credits for the advice he gave at an early stage of work on the picture. Pixar are or were obsessed with the details and authenticity of what is happening on the screen. I remember some archer saying that Braveheart had the most accurate depiction of archery on screen. The Cars trilogy is also full of Easter eggs for auto mechanics and racing fans. Usually, experts are involved in such things from the very beginning to do everything right. This theme is also practiced at Disney. This became especially noticeable with the release of Moana. They are working to correctly represent different cultures, so Frozen, Moana, Coco, Encanto, and other films respectfully and accurately convey culture. Today I learned that Ken Allen, an orangutan from the San Diego Zoo, became famous for his numerous successful escapes. During these escapes, he calmly walked around the zoo looking at other animals. He never showed aggression towards visitors, but he did throw stones at another orangutan named Otis, whom he despised. "Screw you, Otis. I could let you out, but I won't." I don't even know what's cooler, that the orangutan was named Ken or that he was given a last name. Today I learned the story of a 9-year-old boy. He lived for a year or two after his mother abandoned him, moving in with her partner 5 kilometers from him and visiting only occasionally. All this time he survived on cakes and canned goods. He had no hot water or heating. Nevertheless, he continued to go to school and was a good student. A 9-year-old boy who lived alone for 2 years but never missed school. The winters he spent alone were harsh. The gas in the apartment did not work, which meant there was no heating either. The court was informed that he slept under 3 blankets. Electricity, however, was available, and he could watch television and play computer games, which he mostly did. Perhaps to keep his secret, he never invited school friends to his home. To the annoyance of his neighbors, he let off steam by running around the apartment or jumping on the bed. The noise echoed through the flimsy walls of the building. It was this, Beatrice recalls, that allowed her to find out what was really happening in apartment number 9. One day, seeing him passing by, she made a remark to him. "Doesn't your mom tell you to stop jumping? The whole house is shaking," she asked. "No, I live alone," he replied. "How is that possible at your age?" "Well, it is," he said. The boy was taken into care and later placed in foster care. Although the mother had the right to visit him, she only came twice in the following year. The boy himself later said that he no longer wanted anything to do with her. He seems to have survived the ordeal without serious consequences. One of the teachers described the boy as very mature and resilient. "I'm not the mother who dotes on her child, but he's still my son," she said in court. Judge Ansel Inouye found her guilty. "The evidence is irrefutable. You abandoned your son." She was sentenced to 1.5 years, but according to Chiarento Libre, 12 months were suspended and she would serve the remaining 6 under house arrest. "When I was 12, I had a very similar situation, but it only lasted 6 months. Edited. In short, my father left my stepmother and gave her everything, and we moved in with my aunt, his older sister. Dad went to work in another state and got in touch there with old friends with whom he used to do drugs, and my aunt suffered from schizophrenia. At one point, my aunt decided that my 14-year-old sister was plotting to kill her. I still clearly remember how she once showed me that the water heater was turned off and stated that this sister was trying to make her freeze to death in the shower in the morning. At the same time, my sister hardly knew what a water heater was then. One day, I came back from school and my aunt's bedroom was completely empty and the shared phone that we all used disappeared with her. My sisters, 14 and 16 years old, stayed with their boyfriends and their families. They lived in trailer parks, and their parents didn't really care that they spent the night away from home for months at a time. I myself slept in the house for about 3 weeks after the electricity was turned off, and then, until the end of the school year, I spent the night either on the roof of my school or in parks in order to be on time for classes in the morning. I no longer had a phone or an alarm clock, nothing. My sisters and I used the same EBT food stamp card to buy food. Either I made my way to the local church, where they often gave out food, and took a jar of canned goods for myself, ate them cold, and some marmalade. Dad came back, and we just moved back in with my former stepmother, as if nothing had happened. And none of them ever asked what I had been living on all this time. They were just glad that we were all okay. I used to ride my Razor bike more than 25 miles a day. Now I'm 28, and I'm just trying to do what I can. Today I learned that Danny Trejo has a clause in his filming contracts that his villain characters must die by the end of the film. He wants children to understand that crime doesn't pay. And here's his opinion on the fact that some actors do stunts themselves. I know that all the big stars don't like when I say this, but I don't want to risk the work of 80 people just to show off on Jimmy Fallon's show. Because that's exactly what happens. If I'm not mistaken, one big star recently pulled his ankle during a stunt, and as a result, 80 or 180 people were left without work. We have stuntmen. They should be doing this. And if one of them gets hurt, of course I'll be sorry. But it's enough to just glue a mustache to another Mexican, and the filming will continue. And if I get hurt, the work will stop, and everyone will be out of work. So I prefer not to do that. Funny guy, this Danny. Today I learned that after Breaking Bad, many real meth producers began to dye their product blue. Sometimes the news shows footage of confiscated substances after police raids, and there is almost always at least one bag with blue meth among them. This, of course, is never that beautiful blue crystal that Heisenberg made, but rather a cloudy blue like salt for sprinkling roads. But still. Today I learned that a sunfish in a Japanese aquarium became so bored when it was closed for reconstruction and visitors stopped coming that it stopped eating. It was brought back to life only after the staff put up photos of people's faces near the aquarium. Wikipedia says that it used to be thought that these fish just drift along with the current, and they were called megaplankton. Imagine being so passive and lazy that you are considered plankton. It's amazing how much we underestimate the emotionality and intelligence of many animals until we get close to them. I think many cat owners used to treat them badly until they got one. Today I learned that Eva Longoria invested $6 million to save a film after her agent told her it was a good idea. Now she says it was the best money she ever spent. Do you know what this movie is called? John Wick. In fact, it wasn't even her agent, so I wonder why this person even approached her. One agent, he wasn't even my agent, called me and said, "You have money, you should invest in this project," she said. I didn't even understand how a movie was made. I asked, what is gap financing anyway? But over time, I realized that I love investing in people. You can say that you are opening a chicken farm, but if you are really passionate about it, if you have done your research and know the market, directors Chad Stahelski and David Leitch did their homework. They worked their 10,000 hours as stuntmen and second unit directors. They saw all the bad movies and knew how to make a good one. That's what it's all about. They were obsessed with their work, and I knew that they would come up with something powerful. Today I learned the story of a woman who bought a lottery ticket. She put $40 into the machine to buy some cheap tickets, but some rude person pushed her and she accidentally selected a 30 million. Oh, she was pushed by a time traveler. She was the time traveler. The woman invested wisely, built a time machine, and went back to push herself. Today I learned that Hans Zimmer had difficulty synchronizing the music correctly with the fight scene between Jack Sparrow and Will Turner in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. At one point, a coffee-making assistant asked to give him a chance. This is how Ramin Djawadi's career began. In the future, the composer of Game of Thrones, Iron Man, Pacific Rim. Hold your coffee, I'll make it now. It seems that all the assistants who make coffee on the set eventually become producers, directors, or actors. At least it worked until the old media had decent funding. Today I learned that Marie Curie had an affair with a married physicist. Letters revealing details of their relationship were leaked to the press and caused public outrage. The Nobel Committee pressured her not to attend the second award ceremony.